This is Sarah, and I'm just letting you know that this week's episode is sponsored by Favor Inc. Favor is a statewide family-led nonprofit 501c3 organization that is committed to empowering families as advocates and partners in improving educational and health outcomes for our children. Favor is the Connecticut state organization of the Federation of Families for Children's Mental Health. Favor offers a single place for families with children who have medical, mental, emotional, and behavioral health challenges to find information, assistance, and training. For more information on Favor, please go to Favor's website at favor-ct.org. And I can say personally that we do use Favor for support groups, and we're very grateful for this partnership. Now on to this week's episode. Hello everyone, and welcome to Caregiver Chronicles. My name is Sarah, and today I am here with my Emmy-winning producer / husband, Jeremy Brown.
I don't think I've won an Emmy for this that I'm producing, but yes, I do have an Emmy now from the New England Emmy Awards, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences for New England local news.
Yes. He is not the producer. I'm the producer of Caregiver Chronicles, right?
Well, we both kind of are. We both work on it.
Yeah. But we'll talk more about his Emmy and just how cool that weekend was in a little bit. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is, first and foremost, this episode is going to air on Father's Day.
So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there and all the moms who have to be dads.
Yes, and a special happy Father's Day to you, Jeremy, because you might be an Emmy award-winning producer, but you're also an Emmy award-winning dad if there was an Emmy for that.
I don't think there is.
I swear to God, that's what his Father's Day card says.
I'll take your word for it.
I'm just kidding. Okay, we're silly right now. No, everybody who listens to this show knows how great of a father you are to our kiddos, and I sometimes think that you're a better dad than I am a mom sometimes, especially today. And I'm grateful for you, and the kids love you, and you are just a wonderful dad, and thank you.
Thank you.
And I also want to say Happy Father's Day to my dad, who, you know, anybody who knows him personally, who listens, they know my dad, Joe. He's also another really great dad, but he's also a really, fantastic grandfather. I think that's his favorite thing in the world is being a grandfather. If the grandkids need him, he is right there. So I'm very grateful for my dad as well, and I'm thankful. And Jeremy, your dad.
Yes, happy Father's Day to my dad as well. He's been there for us anytime we've needed him, and he's stepped up many times when we didn't even know it to help us. We always found out later. My dad is, he's very set in his ways sometimes, but at the end of the day, he's always there at the right times.
Our dads are two very different people, and Jeremy's dad is like a military man. He served for a long time. He was in the Vietnam War. And my dad's kind of a hippie. So it makes being with our dads, like each one of us with our dads, different experiences. And there's different things that we can learn from both of them. And it's pretty neat having our families. And we're just very grateful for them, all the dads. And again, happy Father's Day to all the other dads out there. I know some dads who are just amazing, amazing, amazing dads. So, happy Father's Day. So, our next topic for this family update that we want to talk to you guys about is probably the most exciting thing to happen to us in a very long time, and probably the most positive thing to have happened in June. Well, more to you than me, but I get to be there for the ride, so.
Yes, of course, as you know, I was nominated for a local news Emmy. We went up to Boston for the weekend. We got a babysitter who took our kids. It was Sarah's parents. Thank you very much. And then we went up Friday night to Boston. We stayed in a very modern hotel.
It was trendy.
Yeah, it was different. It wasn't bad. It was exactly what we needed. but it was different than what I'm used to. And we got to go around to actually get out and enjoy ourselves a little bit Friday night. We walked around parts of Boston Saturday morning. Took in Sarah's favorite, the hot pot at the Asian restaurant.
Yeah, we tried hot pot for the first time. That was pretty fun.
That was delicious. And then that night we went to the Wang Theater in Boston. We were the category I was nominated for, local newscast, smaller markets, was the very first award, and we won. So the rest of the night we were on cloud 9.
Yes. So, well, back to like the rest of our trip, and then I'll give you like my perspective on it. So we picked the hotel that was right on the side of the theater, just for convenience, so I didn't have to walk across the city or take a subway in a dress, because I had like a fancy gown on. I think we did share some pictures on our Caregiver Chronicles Instagram, but we will definitely share more. And if you guys want to see them, let me know. I didn't want to be too over the top about it, but we did take a lot of pictures that weekend. So we picked a hotel that was right next to the theater. We kind of picked the second most affordable one. The cheapest one was a hostel, and we would have had to share a bathroom with like 12 people, they said, and I just wasn't feeling that. That just wasn't what I wanted. I wanted my own private space. So we stayed at the Moxie, and I thought it was really cool. It was very trendy. That's how I would describe it, as a very trendy, very like they played like a lot of music from our day. I think it's definitely targeted towards our generation, like millennials, I would say. Yeah,
definitely.
It's definitely like a millennial hotel. They have like card games and board games in there at the bar. They give you get a voucher for like a free drink and $25 discount on food per day, which was pretty cool because we get to eat less expensive than normal. Actually, I think the $25 voucher covered our food both days, right?
It covered our food Friday night, and it covered the majority of our food Sunday morning for breakfast. I think we wound up paying $3.
Okay, yeah, and then we each had like a complimentary drink. The drinks were kind of weak, but it was complimentary and it's fine. It was, compared to other bars in the area, I felt like it was reasonably priced.
Yeah.
Priced about the same, and they had like 90s and 2000s hip-hop music playing and stuff like that, and 2000s pop. So it was definitely like a millennial type style hotel. The rooms were really small, but the bathroom was a pretty decent size. The bed was comfortable. I had no complaints about the bed. We were in the theater district, and so there was a lot of things going on around us. So it was noisy, but they give you like complimentary earplugs, and they have like a sound machine. So that was kind of cool. I didn't really use the earplugs because I didn't think it was comfortable, and I ended up just falling asleep when I was ready. But I thought it was really nice. I wish the room was just maybe a foot bigger on each side. But overall, I have no complaints about that hotel whatsoever. It was clean. The staff was super friendly. The other guests were really friendly. It was just a fun hotel. We kind of like Friday night when we got there, we kind of walked around and like we didn't really want to go to bed right away, but we wanted to change, eat, walk around a bit, have a drink, because we didn't have our kids. It's not often that we don't have them, so we did do that. We walked around and tried a couple places, tried a couple bars, found one that we felt more comfortable in compared to some of the other ones. And then we went back. I think we had 3 drinks Friday, and I think we had 3 drinks Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Saturday, mostly, we just walked around the city and just kind of did what we could do till we got back to the hotel. And then we had lunch first. We had lunch at Hot Pot. That was so cool, the Hot Pot place. I don't remember the name of it.
I don't remember
but
either,
it was really cool. They give you like a pot of boiling broth, and you dip your like meat and fish in there and your veggies, and it kind of you kind of put it in there and then you scoop it out and you eat it. It was really good, and I love soup and I love Asian food, so it was right up my alley for sure. And then after that we got ready for the Emmys. That was pretty cool. We got there and there was hors d'oeuvres and there was a bar, and everybody was just, it was nice because everyone that was there was just so happy to be there. There was just so many smiles across everyone's face. And I was so excited. I made friends with the people who were passing out the hors d'oeuvres. I made sure, like, I got to know them by name and what their other jobs are and their hobbies. So they would bring me more snacks.
She's not kidding.
I'm not kidding. Shout out to Ben. Ben, the hors d'oeuvre guy. Jeremy's just like, yeah. If you know anything about me, you know I like my snacks. So, that was pretty cool because it was just, I don't know, it was just cool. It was just really nice. They had an elevator guy. They literally had a guy to, like, run the elevator in the Wang Theater. It was so fancy. It was so beautiful. And we went in, for the ceremony and everything, and I knew his was the first one. I don't know why, I knew he was going to win. So when they called him, I was recording it. I was ready. Like, I was ready to jump up. I was so excited. And they announced the first category. I have it all on video. I believe I did share that on Caregiver Chronicles too, but it is on my personal YouTube. I could probably move that over to the With My Wife Pod YouTube because that is still up.
Yeah.
So I could put it on there for you guys if you want to see it. It was just so exciting. It was such an exciting night. We've got some great pictures of Jeremy and me together that night. And I have a wonderful picture of Jeremy holding his Emmy with the Emmy background that I have framed for him. So, yeah, it was just really, really awesome.
I can't say anymore. Yes, it was really awesome.
He won the Emmy. I didn't, but it was awesome to see. It was awesome to be there. We were like, even the next day, like that Sunday, we got home, or we got to my mom's, and I was like, we gotta have a cake. I was like, we gotta have a cake. And there's an Emmy just sitting on our shelf right now. It's your Emmy. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, we had about 3 or 4 times just on the train, she turns to me and says, "You have an Emmy." And I'm like, I know, it's right here in my lap.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I don't know. It's just, that was fancy for me. We were definitely over the moon with it all, I guess, would be the words to describe it.
Yes, it was exciting. We were over the moon. It was a great weekend. Unfortunately, that was followed up with one of the worst weekends we could have ever had.
Yeah, so as we come back to life and come back to normal, I of course brag to all my kids' teachers and everything like that. We're excited about it. The week goes by pretty much a regular week. We're excited. We're still happy about the Emmy. We're looking forward to possibly taking a day where we go down to the beach, But I get a call from Joey's school on Friday that he had a little bit of vomiting and diarrhea. And my kids, I hate to say this, but my kids, one of them is throwing up at least once a month, if not more. And there are times where Joey will just throw up and have a little bit of diarrhea, and then he's fine, like an hour later. He just put something in his mouth that he wasn't supposed to, and it passes. Well, I kind of procrastinated a little bit to get him, not too much, but I moved stuff around in his room. I put pads down in my truck and everything. I go to the school and I get him, and I bring him home. And I notice when he gets out of the truck that he's walking really unsteady, like what I would call in the medical term unsteady gait. But to describe it for someone who hasn't seen it, he was walking like he was drunk. He was kind of falling down. If I wasn't holding on to him, he was going to fall. He actually did fall a little bit on his hands, but he didn't hit his head. So I brought him in, and the first thing he wanted to do was sit down in the chair. And I was like, he never wants to sit down. So I brought him to his room. I'm like, you lay down. And I had thought initially that he had eaten a plant from our yard. I had seen him put it in his mouth and had swept it out before he went to school. Mind you, before he went to school that morning, he was like giving me a hard time about getting dressed, jumping on the trampoline, just your typical Joey. So I get on the phone with Poison Control because I know what kind of plant it was that he put in his mouth. And I did see online that it could cause some GI upset. So I just wanted to see if I should give him like Pedialyte or what. But I was a little bit concerned about the wobbliness. So I was like, well, maybe he's getting dehydrated. I don't know. So I'm on the phone with Poison Control. I'm getting Pedialyte down. And I go in his room, and he's stiff. He's just staring off the side. His breathing has changed. His breathing was kind of labored. He was staring off to the side. His coloring had changed a bit, and he was drooling. So I hung up with Poison Control. I call 911. I text my husband. I'm like, you need to get here now. the rescue, it didn't take them long to get here, and because he has, Joey has like a Noah's bed, so it's like a medical bed, so one of the EMTs asked if this was his baseline, and I said no, and the other EMT had been here before when he was vomiting, and the other EMT was like, no, I was here when he was sick before, and he was all over the place. His baseline is not stiff and still, so they scooped him up, got him in the rescue. I was jumping in the back of it with him. His oxygen was low. It was kind of low and dropping. They had him on a mask. He was not moving to take the mask off or anything like that with 100% oxygen. He was just kind of laying there whimpering. So we got him to the closest hospital to us, which is not a children's hospital, just the closest one. They were able to start an IV and catheterize him without anybody having to hold him down so they could get a urine for a tox screen. Everything was negative. His white blood cell count were really high, so they were thinking possibly an infection or something like that. And at that point, they had started treating him for a seizure. And I guess when I was reading over the medical notes, I saw that they gave him Narcan too, just in case he ingested anything at school. We don't have drugs in our house, but that could have been a possibility at school. You never know. You never ever know. There was just cases recently in Connecticut where kids ingested fentanyl. So they did give him that at the ER too, which I didn't realize at the time, but I realized it later. He was still seizing at this point. They'd given medication to stop seizures. His breathing was still kind of up and down. And the doctor came in and she said, we have to send him to a children's hospital. She's like, we can stabilize him, but we can't treat him here. He's got to go and get further testing and, specialized testing for a child because he's only 7. So I said, okay. And I'm thinking, like, how am I going to get him there? And she's like, we're going to get Lifestar. So they basically got the helicopter. Like he left from our local hospital to Hasbro Children's Hospital in the helicopter. It's a 20-minute ride. I was fortunate that they let me ride with him because they usually don't let the parents go. But in our case, they were able to, in order to transport him via helicopter because his oxygen was just unstable, they had to intubate him. So we had to be on a breathing tube for a little while because it's easier to intubate in the hospital where they have an anesthesiologist, a respiratory therapist, and a surgeon versus in flight where it's 2 medics and a pilot and me who can't do anything. So they felt it would be better to intubate him at the hospital, transport him to the other hospital, and then when the other hospital was ready, they would take the tube out. So we landed at Hasbro. At that point, Jeremy was already there. He met me. I don't know how long you were there for when you met me.
I'd probably been there about 10 minutes. I went and picked up Remy at school, and then I went to the hospital because I was going to drive Sarah from that hospital to the children's hospital at first. But once they said that she could ride in the helicopter, I started driving Remy to meet her aunt, who she met me about 2/3 of the way in between, so that she to pick up Remy to help us out. And then I went on to the hospital. I got there before the helicopter because they couldn't go until they intubated Remy or intubated Joey. So I was waiting there probably about 10 minutes when she got the text. We just landed, so I walk over to the reception area there. I'm thinking they're going to take me into triage or whatever, and they instead take me straight into a trauma room.
Yeah. At that point, I was already in the trauma room, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was already in the trauma room with Joey. We had gone from the helicopter to down. I had gone with a huge group of people all the way to the trauma room where there was like 20 people working on him. It was kind of, and then there was like a patient care tech who was in there who was like, just stay back. And I'm like, okay. So I had made the decision at that time that it would be a good time to call my boss because I was supposed to work Sunday and tell her what was going on and say, look, there's a good chance I might not be in Sunday because we still weren't sure what was going on. We had ruled a lot of things out, but there were still a lot of things that we hadn't had the chance to rule out. So they did some more things. I don't even know everything that they did in the ER at Hasbro, but I was there. They sent us out of the room to do x-rays and things like that. I think they did like chest and abdomen x-ray and all that stuff. Then they took him and did a head CT. That was awful because they had his eyes taped shut. And even though like he had a breathing tube and everything like that, for whatever reason, having his eyes taped shut just bothered me so much. That and when he was at Day Kimball and he was like whimpering in pain. That bothered me more than the breathing tube, because at least the breathing tube he looked comfortable. It was the suffering and the eyes taped shut that just killed me. So then they got us, so they did the head CT, and then from there they brought us up to his room, which was in the ICU. Joey still wasn't awake yet, so we're kind of waiting for him to wake up. At that point, I don't think I'd eaten anything other than like a Pop-Tart and some Oreos, and I hadn't had anything to drink, so I was like thirsty. I hadn't eaten. I was starting to feel like dizzy and like also like about to burst, like, all the things that you feel. And Jeremy and I were just in there, and we were trying to contact like people that needed to know what was going on. So like I don't even remember whose job it was to contact who, but we were trying to deal with all that, and we were getting overwhelmed with that stuff. That my parents got there, so let them go up to see them, because you can only have 2 people in the room at a time. So let them go up to see him, and I went to eat because I hadn't eaten. I wasn't gonna leave, so Jeremy went to buy me pants and shorts to sleep in because I didn't have like clothes. It was kind of just like Day Kimball, helicopter, Hasbro. So next thing I knew, you know what I mean? Like next thing I knew, I was in Providence. I wasn't really prepared for any of it. So he went to get me some stuff to sleep in and everything like that. And we just, it was just awful. They came in and they told us the head CT was clear, like there was nothing wrong there. So then while my mom and dad were with him, he started waking up. So they were able to take the tube out, the breathing tube out. They were able to extubate him. Mom told me that they were doing that, so I was like, okay, I'm going to come up now. I just finished my sandwich, so I ran upstairs. And by the time I got there, they pretty much had the tube out, and Joe was kind of waking up a little bit. You could tell he was still, like, really groggy and really just, like, cranky out of it. And they had a EEG tech come in and do an EEG on him, and that took a little while, holding him down, putting everything on, because he was getting antsy again.
Yep.
Even though he couldn't really move, they did have him restrained, so he didn't, like, pull his IVs out and stuff. So she did the thing, and I think that night they came in and treated him with anti-seizure med. And then the next morning, he had thrown up a bunch of times that first night. It was a rough night for him. He'd thrown up a bunch of times. So he did have a one-on-one. I would rest, but I would hear the nurses. I would get up and help them if they needed. If they said they had everything, I was like, okay, just let me know. And I would kind of like nod in and out. I mostly just nodded in and out that whole night. But the little guy was throwing up quite a bit. He had a pretty rough night. The next day, he was starting to move around a bit more. He was starting to act more baseline. And the neurologist came in and told us that he did have a seizure. And that they could also see spots where his brain was misfiring. So, we just, that was just a whole new thing for us because he's never had a seizure. So now we had this whole, I don't know. We always kind of knew that this was a possibility because seizures and autism can be very common, unfortunately. But I just wasn't expecting it yet.
No, neither was I.
It was kind of just like the rug was pulled out from under us, and now we have this like new layer of care that Joey needs. So it was just a whirlwind. He got discharged Sunday as he started to get more back to baseline. He was able to eat and everything, and he was able to go home Sunday. So that was really good. It was a good thing to see him home. He was still wobbly and off when he first got home. First couple of days, he was still a little off. So he was supposed to go to school Monday and Tuesday. Those were supposed to be his last 2 days of school, but we kept him home. We did go into the school with him to get like his things for the year, give them some paperwork to send because he will be going to summer school. Just some paperwork with like his new information and things like that. And he has an emergency medication now that we have to give him if he does have a seizure that lasts longer than 5 minutes. So we kind of spent Monday just dealing with all that, making appointments, making doctor's appointments, calling the insurance company. I think between the two of us, we had like 50 phone calls to make.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah. So we came up with like a seizure plan for him, medication. He has like an emergency binder with a little seizure bag that goes everywhere he goes now. And these are all things that I put in place. I think that this is going to be a whole other episode of Caregiver Chronicles. What do you think?
Yeah.
Like with detail.
Yeah, we'll definitely have more on Joey's seizure and
details
about how to do that in a full episode somewhere down the line.
Yeah. We're just not in a place where this trauma is so new to us that, I mean, it's been a whole week since we've been recording this, and it's been hard for us to like, I don't know about you guys, or I don't know if it's a caregiver thing, a mom thing, or a woman thing, but when something happens, I don't freak out till after the fact. I was like, I think I was pretty calm, cool, and collected at the hospital and everything like that.
Yeah, it was the drive home where you started freaking out.
Yeah, it was like when we got home and when but also like when we were home and I was going through like what I need to do, like I need to make an action plan, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I was in like a productive mode and just trying to get all the prep done and get everything figured out. And it was after that I had my freakouts and my meltdowns and my tears. It was during the time I was just like, I don't know if it's like a healthcare worker thing. I don't know what it is. But during like the crisis, I was just very matter of fact. Like, this is what it is. This is what needs to be done. This is what needs to be done next. Afterwards, I lost my mind.
Yes, she did. But that's to be expected once eventually everybody has that moment where they just need to break down and just, be it cry, get mad, whatever. Everybody reaches that point at some point, and best to do it once we're past something. And then, in the moment, they needed her to be calm, and she was. So,
yeah. And that's just my whole personality. Yeah, so that's kind of what's been going on with Joey. He missed the last 2 days of school, but I will say when we went in to like get his stuff for the year and do paperwork, his paras and stuff came out, and they were just in the school staff that came by because they knew he was there, and they were just so thrilled to see him because they knew that he had gone via helicopter intubated to Hasbro. So they were just so thrilled to see him like moving around a bit and just being himself and just there. It's his last year at that school, so one of his paras was almost in tears. And they even, because we were messaging them like, hey, did you notice anything off or different? Did he hit his head? Because we had no answers. And, they were going through like, it was a normal day. Like, we're sorry, we can't give you anything other than he just didn't want to eat all of his honey bun and he threw up. There wasn't anything. So they really, I guess right now the thing is we have to find a trigger, but we don't know what it is. So I have to be patient and let us find it as we go to neurology appointments and figure everything out. But that's what's going on with Joey. But I want to say he is kind of back to baseline. I say kind of. He's had since the seizure, he's been a lot more like stimmy. He's been more agitated. There's been an increase in movement. We're not sure if it's from the seizure, if it's from being in bed, if it's from the anesthesia that he was under, or if it's from his new meds that kind of got him to be a little bit more stimmy and just looking for more sensory input and even a little bit more agitated. So we're just trying to figure that out. I guess only time will tell. Or we might not ever know. I don't know. But that's what's going on with Joey, but he is back to baseline. He's been jumping on the trampoline all week. He's been pulling me for a snack every 5 minutes. I had to put a brand new chain lock on my fridge today because he ripped the other lock off. So, the kid is strong. He's pretty much back to baseline. So, yeah, that's Joey. And now to Remy, we are still trying to navigate the outplacement situation. We did tour a school. We're waiting to hear back from another one, but we are looking into that. The school that we toured, they are right in town, and they will let him participate in after-school sports, which was a goal of his. So he's excited about that. He decided to take some time off from Scouts. He was a Cub Scout for many years. I really wanted him to finish, but he just couldn't. The kid just didn't have it in him to finish this year. So he went to the last meeting, and he told his Scout friends, hey, listen, guys, I have a lot of things going on. I'm having a hard time there, and I just want to take a break from Scouts, and I hope that I can join next year or the year after. And next year, the year after, he'll be in Boy Scouts, not Cub Scouts. So hopefully he does. I know he wants to see about music lessons and maybe try a few other things. Take a break, work on himself, adjust to this new school, and hopefully not feel so overwhelmed and do well. That's pretty much our goal with him right now.
Yes, it's been a rough, 2-3 years for everybody, but we've seen him just struggle so much basically since he was sent home from school in March of 2020. Finishing the school year at home, he started the next school year at home, in and out, the yo-yoing, the virtual learning, everything. It just became too much. And while Scouts helped a lot, athletics helped a lot, but it was a lot too. Sometimes it'd be too much. Especially Mondays were very hard for him. As he pointed out, he would go to school, and then a lot of times when he did both cross country and track this year, he would have practice, and then as soon as he got home, he would have to go with mommy to Joey's speech therapy, and then if there were Scouts, come home, barely get to eat anything before he had to go to Scouts. So it was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of transitions for him, and I do think he's going to want to rejoin, though. And, the leaders have even reached out and said, hey, we think it's awesome and brave of Remy to stand up in front of a room full of other kids and say, I need to take a break. I need to work on my mental health. I'm overwhelmed. They were super proud of him. All the leaders and parents reached out and were like, that was brave of him and really cool of him. So, and the Scout leaders have told us we're welcome back, and Remy, he just loves it. But I'm giving him the break. I trust him on it. We did go to the last meeting. We weren't gonna make it regardless. We weren't gonna make it to the crossover ceremony because Joey's seizure. I was supposed to be the same, or one of the days that we were in the hospital. But a friend of the show, Dave, reached out to us and said, we all sent good vibes and prayers your way. And I just appreciated that so much that, we were kind of leaving the organization and we couldn't be there for them to take a moment and just think about us and pray for us. Just meant so much to me. And my husband, I know it did. It was a very touching, like moment of even though we're not part of the group, we're still friends. We're still part of the group. They still care about us. We still care about them. And I'm just grateful for that. I'm very blessed to have people like that in my life that I care about a lot and that care about me. And same thing with our family. We're very lucky. So I just want to thank them all. I want to thank all the Scout parents and all the Scouts for everything they've done, especially the leaders. If they're listening, thank you guys. You guys have done so much for our kids over the years and us. And, it was hard to say goodbye, but, it is what it is. And hopefully Remy will rejoin. And, if not, we'll see you guys around town. That's all I can say about that, right?
Yeah, we'll definitely see you around because it's a small town.
Yeah. So that's what's been going on with the kids and Jeremy. Me, I am just trying to navigate everything and not lose my mind. I've been overwhelmed.
Yes, between one kid constantly pulling on her and the other, meltdowns.
Both of them meltdowns.
Both of them having meltdowns. It's been a lot. And, of course, now that I'm working days, I'm not home for that anymore. So
yeah,
I couldn't give her a break.
And the stress of seizures. I have that whole new, I don't know. I just have this whole new, medical worry. But thank God I have medical experience. Because at least for that, I know what to do. Basic first aid and calling 911 and stuff. So I'm grateful for that. I'm just trying to navigate it all. And, I love Caregiver Chronicles. I have been working on my Reiki. I've been practicing that on myself. I actually even did Reiki on Joey when he was in the hospital after they figured out that he had a seizure. I don't think I was really in the frame of mind to do anything that first day. Even meditate. I don't even think I could have done it if I wanted to.
Probably not.
Yeah. So I did do Reiki on him in the hospital, and the nurses were like, it's not going to hurt. So, just do it. I've been working on that, and there's just been a few other things that I've been working on that I've been pursuing in my personal life that were former goals of mine from even before I met you that I've never pursued because of fear, and now I'm in a place where I'm ready to start doing things that I really like to do and be open and be myself. So, and I'm continuing my Reiki practice, and obviously Caregiver Chronicles is going nowhere. We have content till October.
So we're at least here till October.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to, right now, if you do want to be a guest on Caregiver Chronicles, we are not recording again until the kids go back to school, just because it's
too much.
Yeah, I cannot record with them home. It's really difficult. But in September we will be recording again. I'm really looking forward to it because it was a breath of fresh air for me. It was a respite, and I just loved communicating with people and meeting. We've had some amazing guests, haven't we?
Yeah, we've had some amazing guests, including, was it Renee Shire?
Yes.
She talked about rock and roll and Alzheimer's and taking care of her husband who, in his battle with early onset Alzheimer's.
Yes. That interview, if you have not listened to that, please listen to it. Renee is so kind. Talking to her was wonderful. She sent me a copy of his book because he wrote this book, or most of it. It's a memoir, and it's just such a cool book, and he was just such a cool dude. And if you can and you get a chance, you can find his music and listen to it. But Renee's episode, it was 2 weeks ago, right? Yes. That launched 2 weeks ago, and that was one of the coolest episodes I've done. And talking to her was so cool, and just reading the book, I was so thrilled that I'd got a copy of the book so early because I had time to actually read it, which usually for me, having time to read is a little tough. I didn't finish it, but I got 3/4 of the way through. It got to the point where I'm a little bit afraid to finish it because I know in the book that, he has Alzheimer's. So, unfortunately. But reading it and hearing his memoir and stuff like that, it was really cool. He was a huge Beatles fan, and that influence just resonated with me with my kids being Beatles fans and stuff. So, talking with her was really fun. And then last week's episode, and God bless Jeremy, he's amazing. This is why he's father and superhero podcast editor of the year, because while Joey was in ICU, he was able to edit this episode and sit there and edit the episode with Bridget Shipman. She's the author of a book called Mother's Guide Through Autism. She actually wrote the book with her son. She has a podcast as well. She was just so sweet and kind, and you could just see her at peace in the interview and just see the peace and love through her. And I just really admired that. Next week's episode I'm really excited about too because it touches a space with me. Something that we love to do is Dawn will be coming on. Dawn Barclay. She wrote a book called Traveling Different. Her and I talked about traveling and taking vacations with neurodivergent children.
It's always interesting.
Yeah. I am so I just learned a lot from that episode. It was really cool. And even just like talking about like just dining out with a neurodivergent child and, just stuff like that. I thought it was so cool. I had so many questions because we want to be able to travel and take our kids places. As a matter of fact, I was in the bookstore in town and someone saw me with Joey and he was on, a harness leash, didn't try to leave. And a woman was like, oh, I had to have my kid on one of those. And I was like, yeah, I was like, he really needs it. And Joey was stimming a lot and laying down on the floor. And I was explaining to her that, he's autistic and nonverbal. And she goes, you must not be able to get out much. And I said, I'm at the point in my life where I'm going to take my kids to as many places as I can. And I'm going to make sure that my son gets to experience as many things as he can. Just because his mind works different doesn't mean he's any less than anyone else. He has every single right to be out in public and experience the world. And that's when Remy chimed in, and I was so proud of him, my little advocate. He goes, and just because my brother's autistic doesn't mean I have to be locked away from the world too. And so he knows what it means to have a special needs brother that you can't really do stuff with, like if you couldn't go out, like. He is like, I wouldn't be able to do anything. So he's like, I want to go. So, I think I really, if you've ever experienced that as a parent or as a person caring for someone neurodivergent, this is a great interview to listen to coming up. And then the weekend after, actually July 3rd, is our Favor episode. And that is our sponsor, Favor. That one I can't wait for. And I have to say this. While I was going through all of this stuff with Joey and the insurance company and the crap with the doctors and all that stuff, like after we got home and I was just having a hard time, I got to the point where I was like pre-panic attack. And I messaged Lisa from Favor. She's my support group leader, but she's on that interview. And I reached out to her and I said, this is what I'm going through right now. Is there anything Is there anything you can do? Can you, what can I do? What do you know? What can we do? And she was fantastic because she messaged me with a just breathe, first breathe, and then she called. And then we worked out. And meanwhile, while she's on the phone, I'm getting calls from nurses and doctors because I'm trying to get appointments for Joey. It's been days. It was the whole thing. But I was very grateful for the conversation I had with her, because she really helped me navigate what to do next and stuff like that. And she's got people on the case now that are far better advocates than I could ever be, that know things that I don't know. And just having that support network is massive.
Yes, we are incredibly grateful for everything they've been doing for us. Even, just from the first time you went to the support group, through our battles with the Board of Education to, getting help for Joey that he desperatly needs.
To the sponsorship for the podcast.
Yes. They have been there for us in more ways than we can count, and we're just forever grateful.
Exactly. And I just wanted to say that I know that there's a lot of gratitude in this episode. Because I have a lot of people, regardless of what's going on, the highs and the lows, the whole time, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, my family was surrounded by people who really care about us, who, really support us, who are really proud of us, who, cried with us, prayed for us, cried with us, prayed with us, and celebrated with us, and whatever else needed to be done. We're grateful for all the people we have in our life, because that is one area in our life that we do not lack, is having good support networks.
Yes, and it's kept both of us sane through everything. So we're incredibly grateful. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, and by everyone, I mean my parents, Jeremy's work crew, the Cub Scouts, Joey's teachers, Remy's school, Favor, and literally everyone else we've ever met in our lives. thank you all so much because, my family, my friends, your family, your friends that have all tried to offer support. We're just grateful. And, I don't think that this episode was going towards a place of gratitude, but I'm glad it did because with all the craziness, sometimes it's hard to take that moment.
Yeah. As rough as last weekend was, everything's, we're in a better spot today than we were this time last week.
Yes. I will never be as good as we were 2 weeks ago when we were at the Emmys. I don't know if anything will ever be that good again.
I don't know either.
But I told him best night ever. He said maybe. With that, that'll wrap up this week's episode of Caregiver Chronicles. We will see you next week.
Bye.